If you were curious about the peel-off gel that I used in the last episode, this is how it held up. Based on the new growth, I would say pretty well. I did get some lifting at the free edge on like one or two nails, but trying it once isn't nearly enough to give like a comprehensive review, so we'll do that later on. However, I only used it on my right hand, so the left hand I'll have to soak off. For that, I like to use these little silicone thingies, and the reason that they have this groove in the middle is so you can flip them over like a cuff, and inside there's like these little nubbies that help hold on to the cotton. And although I hate them, I'm gonna unravel a cotton ball and use that. If you're new to my channel and you're like, girl, why? It's a sensory issue, okay? So much so that despite watching Elf every single year, I still have to fast forward past the part where he eats them. Like, it freaks me out. I can't. But I can be brave enough for a few seconds because I just don't like when they're dry. And it was at this moment I realized I didn't have any acetone. So I'm using polish remover that contains acetone, but also has other ingredients in it. So I really don't recommend that you do this. It'll just make the process longer and less efficient. But I guess I was just determined to get these off now. And if you don't like the skin surrounding your nails going like all white and chalky and getting just completely dehydrated, you can apply cuticle oil on it first. You'll also notice that I'm not using a cuticle pusher to remove the gel because that's when I think a lot of people do the most damage. Not saying that you can't use one, but for some people, this is where they kind of get overzealous and accidentally end up forcing the gel off. So any area that I feel resistance, I leave it alone and then I put the silicone tip back on. And the benefit of using my own nail is stainless steel, if it's not smooth enough and it has any sharp edges, it can dig into the nail plate itself and lift those layers. Because your nails are not a solid form, like they are made up of layers and layers just like your skin. So under the right circumstances, you can get in between scales or bark, which makes up the surface of the nail. So my goal is that by using the same material, I'm not disturbing it as much. Like I'm not applying so much pressure that there is an inconsistency between the two. I hope that makes sense. But again, just my own theory. After the last video, I figured you probably didn't need to see me wash my hair again, so we're just gonna go straight into styling. I recently picked up the new gel from Tabitha Brown's line, but I don't have her leave-in. So I'm quickly mixing it with what I do have to make sure that the products are compatible. If you mix them together and they harmonize, you're good. But if they separate and create clumps, that's exactly what'll be on your hair, and they're not gonna work together. So if you're ever using a new product and wanna save yourself from having to potentially rewash your hair or wasting your time, this will save you. Now I'm doing 3-strand twists. I've always preferred these to 2-strand because my curl pattern being so loose, it just seems to be easier for it to hold. Remember, when it comes to doing freestand twists, you're not adding any definition that isn't already there. That's why the twist out mimics your natural curls. Like your natural curl pattern is what's holding the twist. It's not just tension, so that's why straight hair unravels. The best way I can describe doing 3-strand twist is like playing Ring Around the Rosie. Unlike with a braid, there's no weaving, so you're not crossing strands over each other by bringing them in towards the middle. Instead, you're wrapping them around an invisible pole. So it's really easy once you get the finger positioning because that's essentially all it is, besides maintaining good tension, of course. I dedicate a section to whichever set of fingers feel the most comfortable, and then I reposition each section to the one next to it, rotating from either right to left or left to right. And this is how I really do it. I hold all of them in one hand and then use the other as my working hand to help move the sections. You can go as far down as the section will allow, or you can stop and wind the rest of your hair around your finger to finish off the section and seal the twist. And if you do pick that option, I just want to say, what, you think you better than me? Because your hair coils at the end? You think you better than me? But for real, this is what I actually meant about having straight hair. Because a wave is an elongated spiral, that means that when you get to the ends of my hair, it's practically straight. So no amount of tension is going to keep the twist in place here. Therefore, if you ever see rubber bands at the ends of my twists or my braids, I'm gonna need you to mind your business. I tried. This the best I could do. But in all seriousness, if you have hair like mine and you don't want to have to do the rubber bands and you want to extend the amount of time that you can wear this, then you can just put perm rods on the ends of your hair while it's still wet. And this is my hair dried. This is actually quite a few days later, so they looked a little lived in because I slept in them. But you'll notice that the hair has puffed up, so the twists don't appear quite as skinny as they were before. The ends are still practically straight though, as expected. And in the crown and the front of my head, I actually did flat twists. Sorry, I didn't film that. If you do want to see it, I can put it in the next video. Just let me know in the comments. But this is my go-to lately. My hair is already out of my face no matter what, but if I want to, I can still clip it up. It keeps my hair relatively detangled apart from, you know, the shed hair that you're gonna have to comb out anyway. And most importantly, it keeps my hair very hydrated and shiny, or I should say usually, because right now it does look kind of dull. The only reason for that is because I tried a new shampoo and I've been using that conditioner that I already know I don't like, but have been trying to use up the product instead of wasting it. Exfoliation routine that I mentioned and you guys requested, I am currently filming that. I just have a couple more weeks left of footage to get, but this is me sugaring my legs 2 weeks ago. Today I'm using firm sugar, but sometimes after storage, you may notice a thin layer of syrup that starts to develop on top. This can happen if it's just a little humid or warm where you keep it, but underneath that layer, it's still exactly the same and totally fine for you to use as is. Since it's wintertime though, I definitely want to warm the sugar so it's easier to apply. Remember, a cold environment will cause your sugar to feel more stiff. So if you don't switch to a softer pace during cooler months, you are making yourself work a little harder and possibly making yourself madder. This makes it more runny and fluid, not only in appearance, but also in performance. So see how I can spread it quickly with minimal effort? You can see that I don't have to apply much pressure to spread it. But rather quickly, as the temperature drops again due to the winter chill, it slowly returns to its original texture. Therefore, you can now see me having to literally press harder in order to mold it into my hair. I prefer to use not so large of a ball on this area because it's not only easier to control, but also the direction of my hair growth changes quite a bit on my legs because I only wear pants. And if you haven't seen my video on sugaring legs, this is the general growth pattern. It pretty much follows the natural curves of the body. The hair grows down on the shins, but anywhere that it forms around a curve, it starts to go on a diagonal. So working with a smaller piece allows me to customize the direction for each of those little areas wherever there may be nuances. Working with a smaller piece just gives you more control. But if you want to be faster, doing a large area of your body, you can grab as much as you want. And with practice, you'll be able to manipulate it no problem. Since that was the last of my sugar, I'm going to make more, but this time I'll make soft instead of firm. Firm is what I would normally use in the summer, so now that it's winter, soft is what I would normally use now. I have many videos on how to make it, so I'll link the most up-to-date and accurate tutorial that I would recommend you follow, and I'll also put the base recipe in the description box. The base recipe is the least amount that you can make, okay? It's the minimum. Right now though, I'm making quintuple that amount. And because I'm frequently asked how long this takes me, I'm going to time myself. But remember, there is no universal time that I can give you that will work for everyone. Set your own standard by testing your own batch. When the kitchen starts smelling like hot lemonade, that's when I start testing. I take a spoonful, drop it on the counter, and remember, move your pot off of the heat while you let it cool. After about a minute is when I will try to pick it up and roll it into a ball. As soon as I touched it, I realized that it's still a little bit warm, therefore I will not be able to tell the true consistency because it is not at room temperature, but I can still check to see if it works or not. And what this has shown me is that although it did technically remove the hair, as you can see, it took a lot of work to get it off. That's because it hasn't fully reached a paste consistency, so it's just shy of where it needs to be. Letting it cook a little bit longer will boil off some of the remaining liquid that's making it too syrupy. Not sure if I've said this out loud, but I generally use two cuticle nippers. The first one is a half jaw, which I reserve for like the lateral folds because it is quite a bit longer, so it obviously covers more surface area. And the second one is the 1/4 inch jaw. I use this around the cuticle area because it's so much smaller, better suited for tight spaces. And if you're wondering which one I prefer, it is of course the smaller one because you know I'm detail oriented. By the way, this is the first step in me actually doing my nails. Like, the objective is not to just like make them look nice, but to adorn them in different colors and ornaments. So the goal was to apply gel polish, but this is just the prep. And if you're wondering, okay, but why don't you just do everything at once? Hello? Have we met? My dopamine runs on a timer. And from the field research that I've conducted, the amount of time that I have to complete my nails before losing all interest is X. Problem is though, I still haven't found out the value of X.
Do you know you have 30 minutes?
Are you kidding me?
30 minutes. 30, yes.
And yes, as a final step, I still apply polish because even though the plan is to do the gel literally tomorrow, I never wear my nails naked. You should always wear a layer of something to protect your nails, even if it's just base coat. So that's what I'm doing. And also, if you're wondering why I didn't salvage more of the length that I initially had on my left thumb so that it would match the other ones, I filed it the short because I am putting an extension on it. But instead of showing me doing my nails for a third time in this video, I'm just gonna put it in the next episode, along with some really cute magnetic gel too. So if you like that, make sure you turn on your notifications if you haven't already, and you won't miss it. And because I get this comment so often, I just wanted to show you that you're not doing anything wrong when your sugar is sticky, because that's exactly what should be happening. You want your sugar to be sticky because if it's not, it's probably overcooked. If mine doesn't look that way, it in fact is. It sticks to my fingers and that's perfectly fine, but also I can control it. And that just comes with practice. So with time, you'll get better and better at it. As opposed to my legs, this is me taking a larger ball to do my forearms like all in one go. I'm applying the sugar still in the opposite direction of growth, but after I'm done molding, I'm going up the arm. Because the hair already is growing on a bit of a diagonal, I can cheat the direction that I'm pulling from. As I always say, you do need to hold your skin very taut or tight before pulling off the sugar. So you'll notice that I'm bending my wrist because I am trying to create that tension, but by no means is this enough, so please don't do this at home. I'm not in a position that I can change the camera angle right now, so I'm only doing this so that I can capture the shot, but I'm doing this fully aware that I am going to get a bruise. So I do have a video dedicated on how you should properly sugar your arms, and I'll link that in the description box, and it's probably popping up on the screen right now. When you're not applying or removing the sugar, your working hand should look a little something like this. In order to remain in control, I'm directing the sugar towards the tips of my fingers and then my thumb is circling around it. If it's pushing through your fingers, it's a sign that you're probably spreading your fingers a little bit. So if you want to keep things neat, focus on pressing them together a little bit more. Because of my positioning towards the lens, gravity is pulling the sugar down and to the right. So you'll notice that I'm redirecting it back behind my pointer, middle, and ring finger. And again, my thumb is acting as an assist. This is what I mean about sugaring quickly. From the time I took the sugar out of the jar, even with how slow and methodical I was applying the sugar, only 6 minutes has passed. And that's how long it also took for the sugar to settle back into itself. And that's showing you how soft this sugar is. When you make soft sugar, the concentration is lower, meaning there's more water, therefore it is technically runnier, even though it is also a paste. It is technically considered a non-Newtonian fluid. So that's why it's so versatile in this regard. I then used the same ball to do my right arm, and the sugar is still working, so technically if I needed to move on to like another body part, I would also do that. Remember, the sugar is still usable in a single session. Like if it's doing what it needs to do, then you can move on, but saving for a different session on a different day, not fine, because it would be unhygienic. Right now, that ball is full of hair and dead skin cells and probably sweat and possibly blood. So you don't want to keep it for later, but you can use it right now, whether that means on your arms and your underarms or your legs and your bikini line. But when you're done, then it can go in the trash or the compost.